From garage sales to thrift store aisles, we hunt for treasure, stacking them in piles. Hustling hard, making deals all day, flipping finds, turning profit our way. Pure Hustle Podcast guides our quest, learning tricks to be the best. On eBay we make our name, reselling dreams, winning the game. Pure Hustle Podcast guides our quest, learning tricks to be the best. On eBay we make our name, reselling dreams, winning the game.
Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're on episode 448, and this is an update episode.
That's right, update episode. We love these episodes because this is our chance to share with you what's going on in our life reselling-wise, what we've been up to, but also, more importantly, to talk about the things that are going on in the reselling world in general, like what's happening, updates to eBay, updates to Amazon, shipping things, all the things that we need to know in order to stay informed resellers so that we are making the profit. We love these update episodes. And once again, we are live. So if you're listening on the podcast, it's dropped a little late. And if you don't have bell notifications over on YouTube, you don't always know when we're going live. So please make sure to come on over to YouTube, hit the like, subscribe, bell notifications so that you never miss when we go live. That way you're not listening after the fact. You can listen live, interact in the comments. That makes for a much more enjoyable Pure Hustle experience. So Orlando, how are things going, man?
Okay, but before I talk about this, we need to let people know why we had to push back the episode. What's going on with you? Are you okay? Are you all right?
Yeah, I mean, it was nothing huge except for we had some crazy storm come in yesterday. Okay. We were going to go live yesterday, and we had a big storm come in, and the power kept like coming in and out. I mean, it wasn't like constantly off, but like every like half hour or so it would drop for a minute and come back on, which my internet has to reset. And it takes like 15-20 minutes sometimes for the internet to be rolling again. And so I just knew that we were going to have interruptions. And also my area was on a tornado watch. So I'm new to Texas. I'm new to tornado like world. So we didn't end up having a tornado. So there's a difference between tornado watch, tornado warning. Those of you who know, you probably could tell me a ton about this, but from my understanding, tornado watch just means the conditions are right for a tornado in a specific area. And so everyone's like kind of on high alert. And then tornado warning means a tornado has actually touched down somewhere. So we didn't have like tornado sirens this time. I had some last year, around this time last year too, but it's still a little bit, scary. So, but everything's good. The weather's better today. So we're here, man. We're doing the Pure Hustle.
We're definitely here. Hey, thank you to everyone that is watching right now. Appreciate every single one of you. Shout out to Inglewood Deals for being the first here, and for Dizzle Pug for joining us as always, and grateful for everybody here. So it's been good. I've been getting slowly back into sourcing and listing and all that. I still have not organized all my stuff, which has been kind of brutal. I just think about the time that I'm losing. And it's a lesson to everyone. Like, if you don't have your stuff organized with custom SKUs, you're going to have a hard time. Now, luckily for me, I do have everything in custom SKU mode. And if you're new to the podcast, you're wondering, what do I mean by a custom SKU? So when you make your eBay listing, there's a little that says custom SKU, and you can label it. So let's say you have 20 totes, you should put like something in your totes that's like tote 1, tote 2, tote 3, and you can put what tote it's in. Or if it's a shelf, you can put what shelf it's in. Whatever helps you identify where to find your item. And so I've been dealing with some of that, and it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle, and I encourage people that are brand new, when you're starting off, like, be organized from the very beginning. Right? Even if you're like, hey, I'm not going to be one of those people with 1,000 items in my store, or 3,000 or 10,000. you never know. Like you may end up going to 200 or 300, 400, 500, and you want to make sure you stay organized. My end, it wasn't that I wasn't organized. It's the fact that I moved, I threw everything to the garage, and I really haven't sorted everything out. So luckily, I'm able to find where things are because they were kind of like in certain custom SKU land, I guess, categories. So I know what totes have what. So it's been okay. But gotta tell you, it was nice to go outsourcing again. I don't know, maybe it's just because, I don't know, first draw, like I ended up doing really well. I don't know if, everyone here has caught our Instagram stories, but if you're not following us on
I'm
Instagram-
actually gonna interrupt you there for a second, Orlando. My wife like stopped me in the middle of like doing something. I was in the kitchen. She's like, "Hey, look at this." She's like, "Orlando posted videos of him outsourcing. It's been a while since I've seen this." Right? So like even my wife, who doesn't like follow the podcast like religiously or anything, she sometimes will watch it, but she knows that she hasn't seen as much sourcing from me, and she saw it, so that was exciting to see some stories. Man, you're back at it. You're hitting them garage sales.
It was. It just, here's the thing. It's like riding a bike, right? Which I don't know how to do, but you just get back on and it was fine. And here's the crazy thing. I wasn't anticipating a lot, but I've learned a lot in that few time. So what's been awesome is everybody that reached out to me in messages. I had a lot of people that DM me and like, "Hey, I'm in the Bay Area too. Yeah, I went to that garage sale over there." And I was like, wow, this is great. Like there's a whole new community that I get to engage with over here. And the awesome thing about it was the night before, I was doing our normal planning. So if you're brand new and you're going to go to garage sales, you should always plan. Whether that means you go on Craigslist, you go on Facebook Marketplace, wherever you find the garage sales. And I was planning them out. And I found a listing, and it was about 20, 30 minutes away. And I saw a room, and the room was full of San Francisco Giant stuff. Like bobbleheads, tickets, like all this memorabilia. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty awesome, right? It's different because in San Diego it'd be all Padre stuff, right? So I knew it was going to be a little bit of a struggle because even though I have been a Giants fan since birth, I also have been in San Diego for 20 years, so I haven't really paid attention to the Giants that much over the last 5-10 years. So I don't know all the great players that have been there for the Giants. And I saw this and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna hit this garage sale first. And what I've learned here in the Bay Area, garage sales start like at 9:00 in the morning, which is beautiful. It is beautiful. And the difference is in San Diego, right? My Mexican brothers, like they're outsourcing at like 5:30 in the morning, 4 in the morning. There was none of that here. There was nobody here. I kind of miss, the huge trucks that have like all kinds of furniture in them. Like there was none of that here. So I show up at this estate sale. Okay. I show up at 9 a.m. Right now, what would you expect in San Diego, Mike, when you go to an estate sale at 9 a.m.?
I mean, 9 a.m. It's probably, unless that's the start time of the estate sale, which sometimes that's the case. 9 a.m. It's been picked through. It's all the good stuff's gone.
Sometimes there's a huge crowd, right? There's a lot of competition. I show up at 9 a.m. and there are 2 people there before me. Two people at 9 a.m. Right now, that's when it starts. I was thinking the later time is going to cause a lot of people to be there, right? Because one advantage you do have in San Diego is if you get up early, like you can beat the crowd and you can get to garage sales before everybody else. So I show up, I get in the door. Right away, I asked the person at the front it was a company, it was a estate company. I said, "Hey, where's all the Giants gear?" He's like, "It's around the corner in that room." I go in, everything is full. No one is in the room. It's just me and all this Giants memorabilia. And I just see bobbleheads and I just start grabbing. I came in with an IKEA bag. I just started loading up the IKEA bag.
But you weren't even sure what was what. You're just like, this is all got to be good. No.
So there's some rules with bobbleheads for me. I know that like if it's like a mascot or something, like those tend to do well no matter what, right? It's not guaranteed. But I did know some of the players. Like it's not like I didn't know. And I also know, like, if it's dealing with a championship or Golden Glove or something like that, like, it's worth money. So I started grabbing some right off the bat. But then I noticed, like, no one was coming by. So I just pulled on my phone and I just started, like, researching. And it was great because it was $15 per bobblehead, but it was 50% off that day. So $7.50 for a bobblehead you can sell for $40, $50, $60, even more. Definitely worth the pickup. It was interesting, though, because I went to the person in front. And I said, "Hey, would you be willing to sell me all the Giant stuff in this room? I'm willing to buy it out." And I was ready to go. I was cash heavy. I was like, I want to buy everything here. And they wouldn't let me buy everything. I was like, what? Why can't I buy it all? They're like, well, we've been making good money on these, but and I'm looking on like, hey, you're gonna make this money right now, but for a reason they don't want to sell. So I just kept grabbing bobbleheads. There's one thing I always like picking up is just a stack of tickets from over the last 20 years, because sometimes you'll find like World Series tickets in there. You'll find All-Star game tickets in there. And they're worth money. There was a lot of 49er stuff. And I was like, wow, like for me to go back to garage sales for the first time, probably I would say, I don't know, 5 months, 4 months. It's been a long time, pre-Christmas. And for me to strike it, like that was fantastic. So I went in there, I picked up all the stuff, and I told the lady that was in the garage that was cashing people out, I said, hey, are you willing to negotiate if I buy a ton of stuff? I know you don't want me to buy everything, but are you willing to negotiate? And she's like, we'll see what we do. And so I picked up a bunch. They had a bunch of pins. Pins, you got to be careful. 90% of pins aren't worth money, but I find that like Super Bowl pins and World Series pins can be worth money. So I ended up picking up a bunch of those. So just to give you a heads up, I ended up picking up like one item that was $75. So half of it would have been $37.50. I ended up picking up like 20 bobbleheads. So you're thinking like 20 times $7.50. That's $140. Right. So we're already looking here that at least 180. And I picked up a bunch of other stuff. And I'm going like, okay, I'm willing to drop whatever because this is going to be a good buyout. But the worst thing, I always tell people, like, when you bundle things, be careful, because the moment you bundle it and they start going like, hey, can I start counting these individually to make sure we get the right number? That's when you know you're going to be paying a lot. Well, that's what she said. She said, hey, can you just pull these aside and then put them in your bag as I count them? I'm like, all right, whatever. So she pulls them out, it grabs everything. I'm looking at the notepad, and she probably has, I think my total was like $560 or something, right? So I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's 50% off that. She comes up with a total number, and then she goes, how about 120 for all of it? Now, what do you think Orlando would have done?
Well, typically, Orlando, your response would be, well, I was expecting 500. You tell me 120. How about 60?
Yeah, okay, yeah, exactly.
Can you work with me a little bit on this?
Yeah, yes, exactly. You would think I would do that, but I said nope. I said, you know what, 120 sounds great, and I paid her the 120 and I went on my merry way.
Are you growing? Are you maturing a little bit, Orlando?
No, I see it as getting rusty. That's what I see it. I see it as it's been a while since I've been out there, and it was a really good deal. The fact is, 3 of the bobbleheads that I picked up are going to pay for the entire thing already. So I'm probably going to make 2 to 3K from this pickup. So that was fun. That was my very first stop. And I want to tell everyone, like, if you get to a place and there's a lot of stuff that you can make money on and you know you're going to get a good deal, source that place as long as you need to. If it means you're at this place for the next 3 hours and you skip all of the garage sales, it is definitely worth it to you. Right? And that's what I did. I did stay there for another hour. I developed a great relationship with the real estate people. I'm like, hey, I'm new in town. I did this full time in San Diego. Here's my name. Here's my information. I was rusty. I didn't even have my business cards with me, which I always have my business cards. So now I know. But hey, at least I had cash on me. Okay. I was ready to buy. And there was a bunch of other stuff in there. I did pick up some Christmas stuff and some other stuff. So then I leave that garage sale and I go to like a garage block sale, right? Literally, these garage sales were in garages. It was kind of interesting. And if you've ever been to San Francisco, like San Francisco, I see it as I don't know, there's like 20 different cities in one, because there's so many different neighborhoods that are so different. So I was like in this area called Glen Park, and it's very hilly and it's very narrow, and you kind of like got to wait for oncoming traffic to pass you for you to get on the road. And I was expecting a lot, but there really wasn't much. But then I ended up going, they had this this block sale in Coma. Now, Coma, California, little unknown fact, there are more dead people in Coma, California than there are living people in Coma, California. There's cemeteries. Yeah, cemeteries galore. So I'm thinking, like, what block party are we having? Like, there's only gravestones out here. Right? Like, what's happening? But I showed up, and I was at the community center, and it was good. I ended up, I picked up a bunch of Starbucks cups for like $12, and I'm going to be able to sell for over $100. And It was good. I didn't fill up my car, but I dropped $132, and I'm probably gonna make 2 to 3K on everything I picked up. So it was good. It was great because I was talking to somebody earlier in the week, and now I have a new audience, right? I have new people that that I work with that are like interested, like, oh, what do you really make money on garage sales, right? You get to enlighten people, right? So I was sharing with someone like, yeah, I can pick up stuff all the time that I pick up for $2, $3, $5, and I can sell for 20, 30, 40, 50, sometimes more than $100. And people are like, what? Is that even real? Is that even possible? I'm like, yes, it is possible. It's not guaranteed. It takes a lot of hustle. It takes a lot of work. But it was a great time. I'm gonna go sourcing again this weekend because I got it now. I got the bug. Like, I need to get out there.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting that you said that there's some people who still kind of almost don't believe that it's like possible. I know people are still interested. I just find more and more, like when I first started reselling, I feel like I really had to explain to people what I was doing.
Yeah.
But now I feel like, I don't know, maybe we need to make a shirt or like a saying that we use in the podcast, but I feel like everyone knows a reseller. Like everyone knows a reseller. Like when I talk to people, like just the other day, I was talking to somebody at work, one of my co-teachers or my colleagues. He was saying he was wanting to make a little bit more money, and other side jobs he does. And I was like, you know what? Like, let me, when we get some time, let me talk to you about reselling. I was kind of explaining how I'm able to make money. And he's like, oh yeah, my wife's father-in-law does that. And it's like that's been my experience consistently is when I talk to somebody about reselling, they know somebody who's a reseller. It's like everybody knows a reseller. It's like we're everywhere. Like people, like we're a real thing now, and it's less of like that. I mean, we've talked about that in the past. That it doesn't have as much of a stigma anymore. But it's, I don't know. Everybody knows a reseller.
I am just grateful. It's one of those things where there was a stigma back in the day, right? It just now people are just kind of fascinated, right? They're just like, hey, what? Like, where do you pick up the stuff? What do you pick up and all that? So it was good, and sales have been good. I did, start listing stuff again, and here's the thing. I'm getting really lazy with taking photos because of photo room. Like, it's gotten so good that I don't even need a light box anymore. Right? I'm just like, I was just at my dining room table, like just taking pictures of the bobbleheads. I did the photo room and it was perfect. I didn't need to pull out the light box or anything. So if you're new and you're like, hey, do I need a light box? I would suggest to you, if you have good enough lighting in your place, just getting the photo room app. By the way, we get nothing from this, but photo room, if you're listening, we're willing to do another, Instagram story ads for you. I would say use it. And eBay does have background removal, but I don't think it's as clean as photo room. Like, photo room is really, really good. And I would say even the Apple phone, right? If you have an iPhone, like, you can remove stuff too from your pictures. So check it out. All right, Mike, what's going on with you?
Man, so I definitely didn't have as good of a week as you. The family was all sick this week. Like, I'm talking stomach bug galore that has just lasted since it was like Saturday when it first started kicking in, and it's like we're on Thursday now, and we're just now getting to the point where like half the family is feeling better. But man, when you're dealing with little ones, especially we were potty training our youngest, and you're dealing with that at the same time, so very, very much so lack of sleep. Everybody's feeling miserable, lethargic. It was a rough week. So I didn't get a chance to do a lot of sourcing. I do have an update though. One positive from the last update episode that we did, I mentioned that the Goodwill bins that's on my way home from work was difficult to get into because they were doing some like road construction. And so it was almost like off the table for me as far as using as a sourcing stop, as a quick stop after work. They've finished that construction. I mean, the road's not all the way done. I'm sure they're going to do some more like paving on top of stuff, but they're done working on that part of the road. And so that is now an option again for me, which is really exciting. Yeah, so definitely it is amazing. Like, one of the things that I'm very thankful for being a part-time reseller is that I can be sick and I could be lethargic, or I could be taking care of my family that's sick and lethargic, and kind of bring back reselling a little bit, where it's like, okay, I'm not going to do all my listings. I'm not going to get my 20 listings done this 5-day time period, or I'm not going to get my 40 listings, or I'm not going to take these pictures, or I'm not going to go out sourcing. And it really doesn't make much of an impact. I could take that time off. But it's just that wake up call for those who are like full-time is you kind of, you can take some time and slow down if you've built up a big enough store where like you've got enough inventory in your store that you can slow down a little bit, maybe not get any listings done for a few days while you're recovering or taking care of family, and still maybe get some shipments out. Luckily, it's so weird to say, like, luckily I didn't have to do too many shipments. I had a handful of items I needed to ship, but it wasn't so much that it was overwhelming. We did have one Poshmark sale, which was so shocking because, again, we don't do the sharing thing on Poshmark anymore. We still have our Poshmark account. We were like my wife and I were like pretty early adopters to Poshmark. Like we were like Poshmark ambassadors when that was like a brand new program. We were like quite a bit focused on Poshmark. And then it just became too much of the like sharing store, sharing this, liking people's stuff. And I know a lot of people went the route of getting a like virtual assistant or, getting somebody to help out with that kind of stuff, paying a friend to like just do the sharing or like a niece or something. But we haven't been doing that. And every once in a while, we still get a Poshmark sale. Now, where it gets really scary is when things sell on Poshmark, we immediately go onto eBay and remove the listings. Or let me take that. Yeah. When something sells on Poshmark, we go onto eBay and remove the listings. But when things sell on eBay, a lot of times we don't even think about, oh yeah, was that listed on Poshmark? We should go remove that on Poshmark. But for some reason, and I don't know if this is just good luck or if this is, I don't know what it is, but we have not in the last year or two sold something on Poshmark that had already sold on eBay. But every time it happens, it's like we go rushing out and to look in the bins and like pull the items. And so we had at that point when we were using Poshmark, we had like labeled the bins and then we had bags within the bins. And so it might be like bin 1, bag 4, and then there might be like 5 articles or 6 articles of clothing in that bag. So it was always kind of stressful of like, is that an item that already sold? But honestly, I'm not too worried about it. Like I would be extremely worried if something sold on eBay and I didn't take it down. I'm not too worried about something selling on Poshmark. But it is nice to know like, oh, we do have it. We could still make this $20. So that was kind of the highlight of the week of getting that sell and it not being one, and just a reminder of like, oh yeah, Poshmark is still a thing. I'm interested to know if people want to put in the comments, is anybody still using Poshmark? Is anybody still?
Well, they may not after what we talk about today later on with Poshmark. So there's changes. Hey, I did want to address this from who did it. You always have questions for me in the comments. Says Orlando, you really exaggerate. No way you make $3K from the bobbleheads. I just sold a Shohei Ohtani bobblehead for $37. Shohei is the hottest player, and that's all I could get. Okay, so let me address this because I think there's a few things here. Number one is I picked up a lot of bobbleheads, and I would say from the bobbleheads, I'll probably make $300 to $400. But I also picked up a ton of tickets. I picked up a bunch of pins. I picked up a ton of memorabilia. So when you put that all together, yes, $2 to $3K. Now, there's the other component here that people aren't realizing that like. Bobbleheads, you're right. You don't make a lot of money on those, right? But for example, I just sold a Chargers bobblehead 3 months ago for $424, right? And it was a vintage Chargers bobblehead. Sometimes you get like those Bay Area announcers, and those could go for $150. We've had people on the podcast share it as their hustle of the week. So be aware, like just because your experience was like, oh man, this is all I got, there's no way you could do that. That doesn't mean that's the case for everybody. There's plenty to be made, and truly everything I picked up. If I find 10 World Series tickets in there, and they're $40 a piece, right? That's $400, right? Some World Series tickets go for over $100. So I do anticipate making $2 to $3K. We'll have to see how it plays out. It may take a year. It may take 2 years. But I want people to be aware, like, hey, I'm not exaggerating. I am actually conservative when I pull my numbers. Sometimes I've been really conservative. It's ended up being 2 to 3 times of what I said. So there we go. I love K-Way here. K-Way saying, big sales. All right, Wayne, you got me. I know. Just like, you're fixed. You never paid off your loans. I know, Wayne. You never ended up paying off your car. Like
I just feel like this podcast would be so much easier if that's what we did. I mean, it's not the most like advantageous thing to do as a podcast host on a reselling podcast like I just did, and say like, yeah, this week was a really bad week for me, and my family was sick, so we didn't do a lot of reselling. The highlight of my week was I sold a $20 item on Poshmark. I sold a handful of other things, but like that was like my reselling moment of the week. If we were like really wanting to like fake and exaggerate, and maybe there's times where we anticipate, like I've bought in things before. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna make like $600 off this deal, and then after doing a little bit more research, and a couple weeks later, I realized like, no, this is actually gonna be like a $200 profit. So there are times where it's like we might miss the mark. But like you said, it could go the other way too, where it's like you buy something, you think you're gonna make $100 on it, and you end up making 3. So if we wanted to have an easy podcast, you could easily fake. We'd be faking all kinds of stuff. I bought this rare vintage whatever, and it sold for $10,000, and now I've got I've got $1 million in sales in the last quarter. Like that'd be easy to do. So yeah, at times you might overshoot things or undershoot things, but we definitely try and be as real as possible on the podcast. And then kind of the last thing that kind of goes with my update is I love the house that I'm in right now. It really is working for me as far as reselling wise. We've got a good setup. I got a good podcasting setup here. Like everything works good. But I had that goal of trying to get my house paid off in 5 years. And I tend to give myself those types of like time frames. Like I try and think in like 1 year increment and a 5 year increment. Because I think trying to think too far beyond that, you kind of just have to have a big goal. Like, I want my life to be better and maybe some specifics, but 5 years is like really specific of what's attainable. But even though that's my goal, 5 years to pay off the current house that I'm in, I have a really good feeling that I'm not going to last that long before we end up buying another house, just because we want to have a little bit more land. We have different like dreams of what we want our life to look like. We want to have some animals on our property. We've got other ideas. So we're actually kind of in the process right now, which it's moving a lot faster than we anticipated, but maybe moving out a little bit further out of the city from where we're currently at. And the nice thing is, and I know Orlando, you're not, big on buying houses, but the nice thing is the house that we're currently in, we have enough equity in, not only from the housing market going up, but just the money we've poured into it already, from the 20% down we had to give because we were a conventional loan, all the way up to the extra payments we've been making every single month because we're trying to get this house paid off, that now we're going to make whatever. When we do buy a new house, in this house we're looking at, the offers are going to be contingent on us selling this house. And so we're going to be walking away from this house with a good chunk of money, and it all goes either onto the new house or to pay our down payment for the new house. And now we have money to work with. So that is one thing that reselling has allowed me to do, is to build up an amount of equity that after just 2 years and being in this house, I can genuinely consider, hey, maybe it's time to buy another house, right? And to upgrade a little bit. My in-laws live with us. So this new place we're looking at, it would have like a bigger, like kind of like a granny suite for them to have as well. The only bummer is it doesn't have that eBay storage that we're kind of looking for. But again, if I could walk away with an extra $20,000, $30,000 in my pocket because of money that reselling has allowed me to pour into my house and build that equity, I can then build that big storage unit I want. I'm gonna have 5 acres. So it really opens up a lot of opportunities. So I'm just really grateful that if it wasn't for reselling over the last couple of years, specifically pouring that money onto this house, this wouldn't even be a possibility. I'd be thinking maybe 5 to 10 years down the road, I can maybe sell this house. But now after just 2 years, I already have enough equity built.
There you go. Hey, before we move forward, we're now in May and tax season is officially done, but you may be still stressed going, hey, how am I going to do my taxes? I've been selling on eBay for the last year. There is a solution for you, and the solution is having the great bookkeeping software called My Reseller Genie, made by resellers for resellers. And if you haven't checked it out, all you have to do is you go to My Reseller Genie in the link below, use our code Pure Hustle, and you'll get 15% off the first month. Again, use our code Pure Hustle, you get 15% off the first month. And I got to tell you, it's great because it'll import everything from eBay. It'll import everything from Poshmark. It allows you to track your profit loss. And there's various other tools such as scheduling, doing your Schedule C. So you could give that to your tax person. So if you're stressing about your taxes or you just want some great bookkeeping software, I definitely encourage you to use My Reseller Genie. Use our code below, and you'll be able to get 15% off the first month.
All right. Hey, real quick before we move on to random stories, I've got this comment here. So Corey G says, dudes, we need an episode about over negotiating. We kind of talked about that a little bit at the beginning of the podcast. I DM'd the Instagram account last year or so. It needs to be talked about how it's a miserable experience for people hosting sales, etc. That's something, we could definitely talk about that aspect of it. Maybe bring on another perspective, because I do think I think as a as just a good human being, like you pick up on those cues. Like I think Orlando does negotiate harder than most people do, but Orlando also has empathy. So if he realizes he's making somebody very uncomfortable and they're not comfortable in the situation, he's not going to keep pushing the issue. You know, if somebody's like, this is too much for me, like please stop. Like no, we don't go to that extent. But I understand where you're saying with this. But speaking of this idea of negotiating and kind of the how it could be a miserable experience and be awkward, I do have for my random story a video clip I'm going to show, and Orlando and I are going to talk about some negotiation as seen in a TV show that directly correlates to reselling.
All right, here we go. This is new. And this is live, by the way. So
Yep. You
hopefully
good,
it's on
Orlando?
there. No, I'm good. I'm ready.
Oh, you want to do that right now?
Yeah. Is that what
Okay.
we're doing? I'm sorry.
Sure,
Did I
we can
miss
do-
something?
Oh, I just didn't know if you had something else to say. I was just saying before we got into our random
All
story.
I was going to say was I don't believe you can over negotiate. Now, I understand the like G says, some resellers are brutal. And yes, they are brutal. Like, I got to tell you, I've seen the person that comes in and like they'll come in with, I don't know, they'll see a watch and they're like, $8 for this watch. And the person's like, what? $8? No, like, I want $50. Like, no, come on. $8. And like, they're just very like forceful. Like, I get that. But I'm always a big believer that in the end, when you negotiate, everybody is happy if money is exchanged. Both are saying thank you to one another. No one is going to sell something for something they don't want. But yeah, it can be a headache. So I totally get what you're saying. All right. Sorry, Mike. Let's roll the clip now.
All right, let's do it. Let me throw this on here. This is the first time we've done a live review. So what we'll do in order to prevent copyright strikes, as we're going, I'm going to pause the video a handful of times. We'll talk about what we're seeing and how this directly relates to reselling. This comes from Fargo, the TV show Fargo. I loved the movie Fargo. I've only seen the first season of Fargo, and it was years and years and years ago. And so my wife and I were like, let's start that over again because it was such a good show. But this scene we're going to watch right here, the guy is purchasing something at a store and ends up in an interesting negotiating situation.
So if you're listening to the podcast, somebody's walking into this a fishing store.
Yeah, it's like a hunting goods store.
Okay.
Why irregular?
Oh, they put a lady's sock in there with the gents.
All right, so he's at this like thing, and there's all these socks, and they say irregular socks, best offer, final markdown. How many times do we go into thrift stores, or we go to like random stores where you source things for reselling? They may not necessarily be a thrift store, but kind of like a secondary hand store, and they just have the weirdest like piles of stuff. And it's like, okay, like this is an interesting, collection of items that obviously came in. And so, yeah, these are irregular socks. So some of them are men, some of them are women in the package. But man, we run into that all the time.
It's always
Which one's
awkward.
which?
It's unclear.
I'll roll the dice. How much?
You tell me.
Say again?
The sign says best offer. What are you offering?
Well, I mean, what's fair?
All right. And again, here we've got so you're kind of watching this from the perspective of the person who's selling these socks. He's not willing to give this first number, right? He's basically saying, you make me the offer. And this is a powerful negotiating tool in the first place, right? Is not giving that first number and trying to see what they're going to give you first. And that gives you something to work with.
That's not for me to say. It's 3 pairs of socks, half of them ladies. Probably not $1 million.
And you almost have that like reverse anchor number, right? Where it's like not $1 million, which is a little bit of humor. It diffuses the situation. Kind of go back to Corey G's point of like things being awkward. Humor can be a very
deep
useful.
analysis here.
I mean, it's got to be, right? This is such a great scene.
Well, I don't want to take advantage. $2.
Awkward silence.
This is so awkward.
Or if that's $3.
Just staring, awkward silence.
5.
This is reverse of what you should do.
$55, so I'll give you the socks and throw in this 12 gauge.
All right. So yeah, and you said it's reverse of what you should do. I mean, but we're watching it from the perspective of the seller, right? Like not necessarily from the buyer, but the buyer's experience there is too, right? Like he gave the first number. So that was his first mistake. He said, I don't know, $1. So he shot really low. And then the seller used that technique that we always talk about. He gave that awkward silence. He just kind of sat there. He didn't even say like, oh, $1. Come on. I think you could do more than that. Nothing. He just kind of was like, and that put the buyer in that awkward situation. And I know, Corey, you're talking about a little bit concerned about people having a miserable experience, but awkward silence is one of those things that drives people crazy. And you want a little bit of uncomfortableness there because they want to fill that void. And so if there's silence, the only thing they could fill that void with is if you're trying to get a lower price, they might start bringing that number down. Or if you're the seller, that number might start going up, right? So either way, that awkward silence is great. And then finally, he does that like bundle thing of like, look, if you give me $50, I'll give you the pair of socks and I'll throw in this shotgun. And basically what he did is he sold a shotgun to this guy, and the socks were nothing, right? And we've talked about those kind of items too, where you bundle things together and you're really getting one thing, but you throw something else in is like to just sweeten the deal. Sometimes you do that as the buyer, sometimes you do that as the seller. You can bundle things together to make people feel like they're getting a better deal. But I just saw that scene and thought like, man, those are the things we talk about all the time. Using that awkward silence, not giving the first number, and then, things like bundling stuff together. So I saw that clip and thought like, man, that's something we got to show on the podcast. And Fargo is such a great show. Love that show.
And awkward silence is everything, right? That's where this guy messed up. Like he could not handle the awkward silence, and he kept talking $1, $3, $5, $10. Like that is the worst. And Mike and I have done role play scenarios on the podcast where we do the awkward silence, and it's gotten really awkward. But I tell you, I've got a minute of awkward silence, right? And if you can bear it, I'm telling you, you'll get something. People will start dropping. They'll do what the guy that was offering the money in the video. They'll do it to you. Like you'll just stand there and you'll be like, I don't know. And then they'll be like, what about, $8? And you're like, Then they'll go like, how about 6? How about 4? And they just start going down. And you're not even having to negotiate. Like the number instantly starts dropping. So I definitely encourage everyone, use that awkward silence to your advantage. All right, hey, I want to move forward. We got some reseller topics to talk here. So I'm ready to throw our little soundbite here. While we get that set up, hey, I want to encourage all of you, if you haven't been following us on social media, we are Pure Hustle Podcast on all platforms. We are Pure Hustle Cast on Twitter. Also, if you ever want to shoot us an email, we're purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. That's purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. And last of all, appreciate all of you that tune in. A lot of you are watching us now on YouTube. Some of you are listening to us on the podcast. Come on over, hit that subscribe, smash that like button, click that bell notification. And as always, we produce free content all the time. And so the key thing with this free content is we have a lot of supporters from Patreon. Right? And Patreon gives you access to that Discord. So if you haven't yet, go to patreon.com/podcast for $5.55 a month. You get to support the podcast. I gotta tell you, I don't know any Discord outside of the free ones that you're able to get as much information as you'll get once you jump into our Discord. So come on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/PureHustlePodcast for $5.55 a month. All right, let's go into some reseller topics now.
All right. Well, I can play this music here, but Orlando, I don't see anything updated from our last one on our screen here. Episode 448.
I got stuff to talk about.
All right. You wanna? Orlando has stuff to talk about. Orlando, take it away.
I do. Okay. So first of all, there's some movement around on eBay. I guess their CFO left, and they kind of talked about that, but it was kind of interesting. So this just dropped yesterday. It says e-commerce firm eBay said on Wednesday that its chief financial officer, Steve Priest, will be stepping down in May and will be replaced by Peggy Alford, who's the vice president of PayPal. But that's not what I thought was interesting. It's the next component of what was said. It said eBay forecasts second quarter revenue above estimates. All beat market expectations for quarterly revenue, but caution that it is not immune to the increased cost from tariffs and the friction associated with U.S. President Donald Trump's trade policy. Now, I find that interesting because right now, like everybody, and we've brought up the tariffs forever here. But yeah, tariffs have rocked the stock market. It's rocked, certain businesses. I don't know if you saw on the news, Mike, how like there's this big controversy because Amazon is supposedly going to put like the tariff charge, right? How much things are going to go up in price. I personally haven't seen any of it. I don't know if just the media is just like
No,
taking
they
off
came
with
back
stuff
and said they weren't going to do that.
Oh, did they? Okay. Because I bought like 2 sets of lights for like $60, and they got delivered in like 2 hours, and I'm like, there was no tariff deal here. Okay, but here's interesting. This is from Forbes magazine. So Forbes said how Trump's tariffs will give the fashion resale market a lift, right? And I do think this is going to be a real possibility here. It says the U.S. fashion resale market contributed $50 billion to the circular economy last year after increasing 14% in 2024. It grew 5 times faster than the broader retail clothing and accessories market, and its growth will continue to outpace the primary market this year, projected to increase 12%. 56 billion. However, the estimate may
Hey
be
Orlando,
conservative.
is
Yes.
your internet connection all right? You keep kind of roboting out on us.
Oh, can you hear me now? Are we good now?
I mean, yeah, you're good right now, but it just every so
Okay.
often you cut
I am
out.
so sorry, guys. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I see like it fluctuating, but I can't really do anything right now. So my apologies. Can you hear me? Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Then it said, however, that estimate, okay, that sales are going to be up, may be conservative. Should Trump's tariffs impact clothing and fashion accessories prices as expected? Some 59% of American consumers said they turn to shopping secondhand for clothing and accessories should prices in the primary market go up. So, for example, they give an example here that an $80 pair of jeans before tariffs could cost $10 to $16 more. After, a pair of $90 sneakers could increase to between $106 and $116. A purse could go from $15 to $26. So here's the thing: like, keep listening, keep sourcing. Like, if this were to happen, right, this will end up benefiting resellers. There's this whole media thing I saw on the news about like there's gonna be less toys in Q4, and I'm like, all right. So if there's less toys, guess who's gonna fill in that gap? It's gonna be resellers, right? No matter what, Q4 will take off, and Q4 will continue being a benefit to everybody. So just don't be discouraged. I know a lot of people want to jump on the bandwagon that, hey, we're doomed, we're in recession, things are going to be bad. But I got to tell you, everything I've read, like if things do happen, things go south economically, that's not the case for our resellers, right? If you have a certain inventory, you have things in place, this can end up working out really well for you. Any thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's something we've talked about a lot. I also think too, long term, again, we're all just gonna have to wait and see what happens with the economy. But if the tariffs do what they're supposed to do, which is encourage factories, encourage businesses to bring jobs here, where more people in the United States are getting a higher wage, then yeah, there might be some feeling of like, hey, prices have gone up because cost of living has gone up, or like people have to pay more for wages. But just think about it, if the average person has a little bit more money, they're also going to be spending that money on eBay, right? So I think any negative effects we're experiencing will be offset on the fact that more people will have money on eBay. I mean, who knows, right? It's hard to tell what's going to happen. The only thing I do know is reselling works, whether it's a good economy, a bad economy. You just have to adjust whatever is happening, and you're going to be successful.
No, I agree. Now, some other interesting things that were taking place outside with this Poshmark thing. Unless you sell on Poshmark, you don't know much about it. But Poshmark did end up changing their policy on ending and so similar, which is kind of interesting because eBay, we do it all the time, but people do it on Poshmark too. And Poshmark ended up catching a whole lot of flack for it. Last week, this is according to Poshmark, is right off their website. It says, last week we announced a new excessive listing removal policy. We have heard and sincerely appreciate your feedback on this policy. So I guess a lot of people got upset about it. So just give you a breakdown about what they're discouraging, what they don't want happening. And again, this is another reason for me to be like, hey, don't start on Poshmark. Go to eBay, right? eBay has not done this. eBay has the server space. I think that's probably part of the issue here. I don't believe Poshmark's algorithm is anywhere close to as strong as eBay's algorithm. So that may be another reason here. But Poshmark says excessive deletion and relisting of the same items, right, is not encouraged. Removal and relisting in fewer than 60 days, right? And how often do I end and sell similar? I do it every day, every day. So if you're on Poshmark, you got to wait 60 days. And then it says, behavior that circumvents fair discovery, any action intended to gain unfair search or marketing advantages. As the marketplace evolves, so do our policies. Refreshing your listing remains an important part. So they're like, hey, maybe you want to change the title, maybe you want to change certain policies, but they're saying, hey, we don't want you doing this end until similar en masse. So to me, it's like, oh man, it's just one more thing where like it's showing to me that Poshmark does not have the ability to be on the same level with eBay or any other reselling platform. Again, one of the downfalls for me of Poshmark is that they don't sell international, right? You're kind of stuck in the market of the US, and I make all kinds of sales international. It's always eBay that takes the priority. So there you have it. So that is my reseller topics. I don't think I had more. It's been kind of slow, and it's kind of good, right? There is eBay seller updates that are eventually coming here, but I haven't seen anything right now that is a big deal or anything that's like, hey, we should change. I always just want to encourage people, like keep sourcing, keep listing, keep going, because you never know when the market's gonna end up taking off for you. We didn't know that in 2020, and maybe that's on the horizon. But either way, if it isn't, there are people killing it no matter the environment. So be aware of that. All right, Mike, it is time for our BOLOs.
All right, here we go.
Do you have some BOLOs? Hey, in the comments, if you want to share a BOLO, you are welcome to.
What's your BOLO?
All right. So my BOLO, I don't really have a great BOLO this time, but one of the things that this is state dependent, right? So I live in the great state of Texas now. And so things like firearms and ammunition can be sold at estate sales and garage sales.
Interesting.
And you can go person to person sales. So you can just do a private transfer of those types of things. And for the most part, that's an area. And I don't want to get this demonetized on YouTube. Talking about that, but that is an area.
Well, we already had a 12 gauge mentioned.
That's true. Man, this is just the episode for it. That is definitely an area where most people know what they have, right? Things like firearms and things like ammunition, they tend to hold their value really, really well, or go up in value. They appreciate, and most people know what they have. But occasionally when somebody's like a collector and they've got a ton of stuff and you're in a estate sale, the family just wants to get rid of a lot of that. And so sometimes you can get some good deals. Now, of course, you can't sell those things on eBay, right? So you've got to know if you're going to get into that market, that you are not going to be able to be flipping it online like that. There are some online like gun trading sites that you can do, but you'd be surprised at what I've come across at estate sales and garage sales, and pretty good deals, right? So if you're willing to play the local game, I would say anybody who already knows firearms, they're already picking those things up when they see those, if you're in a state where you can do that. But if it's not a field you've gotten into, you might just not be aware of how much money is there, and there is a lot of money there.
Okay, so let me add on to that, right? Maybe you're maybe we have people that don't feel comfortable delving into that, but like for example, gun holsters, right, or knife holsters, like the big knives, like especially if they're like leather made, there's good money to be made. I've come across a lot of estate sales and garage sales. I pay maybe $1 or $2, and they sell like for $30, $40, $50. So be aware of that. Like, don't it doesn't have to be necessarily that related. It could be just be something that's connected to it, that's tied to it, that you could make good money on. I also like hunting gear, right? All the time, we haven't talked about Sitka or some of that other hunting gear, but there's good money to be made out there. So check out those resources. That wasn't necessarily my BOLO I was going to share, but I just thought I'd share that because, jumping on with what you're talking about, because there is definitely a lot to be said about that entire market. For me, it's been interesting. I will say right now, as I'm in a different town, right? I'm in San Francisco, and there's a lot of San Francisco gear, right? And I'm kind of like, oh, like, should I pick this up? Should I not? Is the market flooded? Right? But the San Francisco gear that I find here, right, you do not find them like at the thrift. You do not find them at like you might find it at a garage sale, but you're not like in San Diego. Like I was able to go to like Marshalls and I could go like TJ Maxx and whatever. And if I wanted Padres gear, I could find it. But here, like I'm having a hard time finding it. So I always want to encourage people, like if you find stuff in your hometown and you have a team that's been great or a team that's known, and you're like, why we're so flooded with this gear here, understand that there are people throughout the country that want that gear, right? That there's fans of the Giants that are probably in like Nebraska or New Jersey or in Alaska or in Japan. And you know, if you find that stuff here and you find a lot of it, it doesn't hurt for you to pick it up because there is a wider market. So when you're sourcing, don't think about just your local market where like, oh, nobody's going to want to buy it locally. But if you list it internationally, there's a lot of money to be said. Okay, so I got to, you know, Recupio Sanchez here, if I said that right, says, I used to live in San Diego. Also, I miss the beach. You know what? No lies told there. I do miss the beach of San Diego. But San Francisco has been pretty nice. It's been pretty good. Pretty good. So that is our bolos. You know, we're always sharing new bolos. If you have any bolos in the comments you'd like to share, keep us updated there. But you know, and by the way, I want to encourage people that like you got to go with the bolo that's in your town, right? So for example, I know in the Midwest, I remember one time I tried to source Hawaiian shirts. Like that's impossible. Like no one's wearing Hawaiian shirts. I don't even go to Texas and find Hawaiian shirts, right? So listen to the podcast, and you know you got bolo, and I look for the bolo, and I try to find that bolo.
All right, you're kind of cutting out for us again, Orlando.
So sorry. Get this fixed with Mike's pause. This is not good. Am I back?
Yeah, no, you're still pretty choppy. We're gonna need to get you some what's the Starlink? We gotta get you on Starlink or something, man.
Okay. It's yeah. Well, you know, what can I say? But am I back now?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, I'm back. All right. Hey, by the way, this is a live podcast. So if you have any comments, any questions you'd like to share, let us know. All right, Mike, what are you looking forward here to?
So I'm coming up on the end of my school year here. I've only got a few weeks left, and then I'll be going on a vacation before too long after that. So my goal is before my vacation starts, which I'm not going to say the exact dates of that because you never do that, right? You never tell the strangers on the internet when you're not going to be home. But before that vacation begins, my goal is to have inventory. Yeah, my goal is to have, actually, speaking of inventory, all of my death piles posted. I've made a pretty good dent in them, but I want to be able to be gone knowing that all of that stuff is listed. And then, especially since I'm looking at potentially trying to close on another house, I'm not dealing with trying to move items again where it's like half of it's listed, half of it's not, and I'm not sure which is which and in what tote. And I'll just know everything's listed, organized, labeled with my custom SKU system, my beautiful bin, year, month, date, and purchase price.
Okay, explain it real quick for the people that may be new.
Okay, so for this one, this is one of the methods I use for my custom SKU. So I've got my bin number, right? So it's in, this item would be in bin A1. So my first numbers are going to be A1. That's where I know it's going to be. Then I do dash, and then I do the year that I purchased, or the date that I purchased that item. And this is really good, or the date that I listed the item. It might not have been a purchase date, but like when this listing first went live. And the reason it's important for me to do that is because when I'm ending and selling similar, you can lose what some of your oldest stock is in your inventory, right? So this is a way of like quickly saying like, hey, I'm gonna, this item has been in my store for now going on 18 months. It's time for me to be dropping price even more. It also kind of helps you organize when you should be relisting items. So I might do everything from like January in 1 week and then everything in February in another week. And so that way I'm relisting kind of in blocks. So that helps. And then I do the purchase price. So that way it makes it very easy on taxes. I know, hey, this was an item that I purchased on, and the reason I do year first is when you're sorting it, it's easier to sort by the first number. So everything from 2025 will be in the first, and then this would have been from March 5th. And then this cost me $12. So I know where to find it. I know when I listed it, and I know how much it cost me.
I think it's great. I really do. I wish I had started that. Maybe I need to start that with the new items I just sourced. Because it's really good, especially now, right? eBay has changed. It's not the eBay of old where you can list it and forget it. You have to move inventory. If you have a lot of stuff that's stale, it's going to weigh down your store, and you do not want your store to be weighed down. All right, so thank Mike for asking what I'm looking forward to.
Hey, Orlando, question for you. What are you looking forward to, man?
So I got to tell you, I am so pumped about sourcing again. I don't know what it was. It was like a revival. It was like, yes, like this is why we resell. I mean, it felt so good to pick up the inventory. Felt so good to pack up the trunk, and it even felt good listing some of that. So it's definitely one of those things that I enjoy doing, right? I think most people would say the best part of reselling is definitely sourcing. Hey, I want to address a question here since somebody has a question. It says, so we know that listing every day keeps the algorithm happy. What about scheduling listings for every day of the week? Does eBay treat that the same as publishing listings every day? From my understanding, from a lot of other resellers that are bigger than me, that it's the same thing, right? I know a lot of resellers that what they do is they have, let's say 50 drafts, for each day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? They just crank them out and then they make them go live. It's the same thing, right? It's the same thing like when I do end and so similar, and I don't do it right away. I make it post 12 hours from now. I do believe the algorithm picks it up as a new listing. So hopefully that helps. Again, this is all speculation. No one really knows, and if somebody knows, they are lying to you unless they're directly from eBay, but no one really knows. And even eBay has told us they don't even know how the algorithm works. So I don't know why anybody from eBay would tell us that. So I'm looking forward to sourcing. I'm looking forward to getting more organized. Here's the beauty. The beauty of being a reseller part-time is that the money that I'm making from eBay now is going not towards the bills, but it's going towards enjoying things, right? Going out with people, hanging out with people, right? Not having to stress about things. It's kind of nice, right? And it's give and take, right? The beauty of me being full-time was that sky was the limit. I could make as much money as I was willing to grind. And I also had a lot more time on my hands. I had a lot of time freedom. Now my time freedom is restricted, right? I also, I'm limited on how much I can resell. But the beauty of it is that I can continue reselling and I can use that money towards things I care about, towards things I enjoy. I can take out my family. I can go hang out with someone. It's really nice to have that extra cash around. All right, Mike, you got anything else to add to this episode?
No, I think that's good.
Okay. Hey, let me address one last question before we go. So Lisa again asked, are you still doing what you're doing at the end, but the end until similar and scheduling for 12 hours later? Yes, I have done that. I've actually done it for like the last few months, even the times that I was not posting, and I still had sales. So I do think it definitely helps. Eventually, I'm pretty sure the algorithm will catch on, or maybe eBay doesn't care. Maybe eBay likes people being engaged.
Yeah. My thought is I don't even think it's so much like the algorithm is that smart. Like I think we give it a lot of credit, but I think it's a simple system of it probably refreshes and it's like examining like the state of all stores, like kind of like how web crawlers work. If you're looking at like SEO optimization, if you put a new website up, you can see how often the web crawler comes in and reviews your website for checks for new content, checks for SEO words, and then refreshes like what's going to show up on Google. It's the same thing. I think that probably every so often eBay does like a refresh and to see like what has changed in stores, what they need to be like moving. And so if your store is stagnant, multiple refreshes, that looks bad, versus, hey, every time we pull one of these refreshes or more often of these refreshes, is there some change in your store? So I don't think they care so much like, did you do it? Did you schedule it? Was it scheduled 3 weeks ago? I don't think they're paying attention to that, but just like your store now looks different than it did 12 hours ago or 24 hours ago. And that I think shows they're treating that as activity. That's just like SEO optimization for a website.
I see that. So, hey, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the support. Appreciate every single one of you. If you have not smashed that like button, please do so. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And with that being said, make sure to be real,
Be relevant,
and be reselling leads.
Peace.